Our next topic is the pumping and dewatering equipment. So the equipment which required for the pumping of water and for the dewatering the construction sites, the equipments called as the pumping and dewatering equipments. Okay. So almost all construction projects require water for different purposes. It may be for consumption, it may be for aggregate washing, for curing, for jetting. Okay. And the pump is the basic equipment, is the operation of water handling system. So the water from excavated areas, mostly during the construction project or construction activity, we need to remove the water from that construction site. So the dewatering is a term for the control of groundwater by pumping. On construction site, it may be known as construction dewatering, and the method is also used on mine site, that is mine dewatering. So the process of dewatering can be defined as the pumping from well or sump to temporarily lower groundwater level to allow excavation to be made in dry and stable condition below the natural groundwater level. So these are some of the method of typical dewatering well construction method. Okay, so why do we need dewatering on construction site? As we all know that for working at a construction site, it should be completely dry and the surface should be such that one can easily work. For excavation and for making basement of building, dewatering the site is must for easy working of the people and for the safety of the people working. Dewatering is also necessary during the rainy season when the excavation work is to be done during the rainy season. For smooth and fast working, dewatering the site is must. So as discussed before, even in mine dewatering is must, else the mine will be prone to accident. Okay, so what is the purpose of dewatering? So during the construction stage, it's provide a dry excavation and permit construction to proceed efficiently, reduce lateral loads on sheeting and bracing in excavation, improving supporting characteristics of foundation material, increase the stability of excavation slopes and side hill fields, cut off capillary rise and prevent piping and frost heaving in pavements, reduce air pressure in tunneling operation. So these are some of the purpose of dewatering in construction site. So during the post construction stage, to reduce or eliminate uplift pressure on a bottom slab, provide for dry basement, reduce the lateral pressure on retaining structure, control embankment seepage in all dams, and control seepage and pore pressure beneath pavements. So these are some purpose of purpose of dewatering from the construction site. Now how it is done? First collection of water, then pumping of water, filtering and removing silt and impurities, and discharge at a proper location. Okay, so sources of unwanted water at construction site. So the first source is rainfall. So due to rainfall, it may be the water at the construction site. Then construction operation like concreting, washing of plants, washing of aggregates, jetting. Next, seepage to the cut-off wall, and other source is the groundwater. So these are the different sources of water on a construction site. Then what are the different methods of surface water control? So source control. So the first, intercept runoff because it reaches the excavation. Next, prevent unnecessary generation of water in the excavation and collect water as soon as it reaches the work area or before the work. Okay. These are some source control of water. Next, water collection. So runoff, that is French drains to intercept runoff. Then collector drains and sump and pumping system. So these are the different technique that is called as dewatering techniques which are used as a construction site. So construction dewatering methods, the design of effective construction dewatering methods should be based on the number of information source. So geotechnical and groundwater site investigation undertaken at the commencement of any project. Then information provided by any geotechnical study undertaken during the concept design stage. Then groundwater information source from relevant authorities and a site risk assessment. So these are some techniques which are used for the dewatering of a construction site: sump pumping, well points, deep well, and ejector well. Okay, sump pumping. A sump is merely a hole in the ground from which water is being pumped for the purpose of removing water from the adjoining area as shown in figure. They are used with the ditches leading to them in large excavation up to a maximum of 8 meter below pump installation level. For greater depth, a submersible pump is required. Shallow slope may be required for unsupported excavation in site and fine sand, so gravels and coarse sands are more suitable. So this is what the sump pumping by using sump pump. What are the advantages and disadvantages of sump pits method? So sump pit method, this method is widely used method, most economical method for installation and maintenance, can be applied for most soil and rock conditions, and most suitable method in situation where boulders are made. Okay. The disadvantages, what are the disadvantages of this sump pit method? So groundwater flows towards the excavation with high head or a steep slope, and hence there is a risk of collapse of site. In open or timber excavation, there is a risk of instability of the base due to upward. Next system, that is well point system of dewatering. The most common practice of dewatering used in Ahmedabad is the implementation of a well system. Wells are systematically drilled around the construction area and the submersible pumps are placed into this well. This practice appears to work effectively for many projects and especially for those building projects. So this is well system for excavation for the dewatering purpose. Okay, so these are the wells. What are the advantages of this well system? So this well system is effective in sandy soil, which provide drawdown up to 5 to 6 meter in sand and 4 meters in silty soil. Relatively cheap and flexible. Installation is very hard. Water is filtered and carries little or no soil practice. There is less danger of subsidence of the surrounding ground than with open sump pumping. What are the disadvantages of well system? Not effective beyond 4 to 6 meters of drawdown and might require stages of well installation. Last, that is deep well. So deep well system consists of one or more individual well, each of which has its own submersible pump at the bottom of the well shaft. Such systems are particularly suitable where large volume of water is highly permeable, sand and gravels areas permitting rapid discharging of groundwater from surrounding areas exist. The range of permeability under which the deep well system is. Okay, this is the deep well system. Okay, so deep well. What are the advantages of deep well system? Low limits on drawdown, fewer wells required than well system, expensive to install. Then ditches and trenches, these are used for the removing of water. These are relatively expensive, control shallow groundwater and overbleed. And what are disadvantages? Possible obstruction of traffic and groundwater will only be controlled at the shallow depth. One of the system it is also used for the dewatering purpose. You can see some of the advantages of this system. They are flexible in level and layout, stable in operation, able to run dry without damage, not limited by depth. Some of the advantages of this system. So things to be taken care during dewatering. So dewatering activities must be done properly to avoid eroding the soil on the construction site. It is also important to choose the best location for discharge even when you might be far away from water bodies or catch basin. Water should not be pumped directly into slopes. Pay special attention and surrounding dewatering if the area shows sign of instability or erosion. And some of these channels used on dewatering must be stable and better if they have been protected with grass or with grass and vegetation. Avoid dewatering under heavy rain because the infiltration rate is at minimum and water will be moved slower or just dewatering process will not function. Additional permits and requirement must be needed from the state, local and other agencies. Okay, so these are some of the points. Okay, so the important thing is that the pump are used for the removing of water from the excavated trenches. Okay, so the pumps are used mainly for the following important operations. The first one is removing water from pits, from tunnel and other excavation. Next, lowering the water table from excavation. and dewatering of coffer dam. So some of the factors that affecting the selection of pump. So the factors to be considered during the selection of pump for construction project or for construction work. First one is dependability. Next, availability of spare part and repair and maintenance of the pumps. Okay, so repair and maintenance should be done easily. Okay, so easy repair and maintenance. Next, less installation and operation cost, and it should be power efficient, that is less power consumption. So this point should be considered during selection of pump for the construction project. Next, some information required for the selecting of pump, that is which type of fluid to be pumped. It may be liquid or it may be water. Okay. Next, the rate at which water to be pumped, then at which altitude of the project, then variation in water level at the suction and discharge, the pressure head at the discharge, the size of the pipe. So this some information should be considered during selection of a pump. Okay. So as we know, the pump is a mechanical device which used to increase the pressure energy of a fluid, and the pumps are used as a water handling device in construction project. Okay, so these pumps are broadly classified into two types. The first one is positive displacement pump and second one is rotodynamic pump. So positive displacement pump is nothing but example of reciprocating pump and rotary pump. Okay, so these two are the example. Reciprocating pump and rotary pump are the example of positive displacement pump, and the centrifugal pump is an example of the rotodynamic pump. Okay, so as we know, the reciprocating pump, which consists cylinder, piston, suction valve, delivery valve, suction pipe, delivery pipe. Okay, so the first reciprocating pump is one of the positive displacement pump because in it liquid is pushed out through the cylinder by actual displacement of piston. Okay, so due to the displacement of piston, the water is going to be pushed through the outlet pipe or through the delivery pipe or discharge pipe. Okay, so during the first stage, it creates a vacuum and which so that the water going to be filled into the cylinder, and during the stage 2 or during the suction stroke, what happen? So a delivery stroke, the water is get full and the delivery valve get open and water is delivered. Okay, so reciprocating pump is driven by power available from the external source. Okay, so this movement of the pistons creates alternative vacuum pressure and positive pressure in the cylinder which rises the water. Okay, so first what happened? Water act only from one side of the pistons and the pump is known as single acting pump. That means this reciprocating pump also classified into two types. The first one is single acting pump and next one is double acting pump. Okay, so that means when water is from one side, it is called as single acting. When water is pumped through the both sides, that is called as double acting pump. Okay, so the first during the outward stroke. So in this stroke, atmospheric pressure is acting on the pressure surface of the water, which helps the water push into the cylinder, and during the inward stroke the suction valve closes and the water is forced up into the delivery pipe. So the construction of and working of single acting reciprocating pump, as we can see, it consists of piston, cylinder, suction valve and delivery valve. Okay, and the working of reciprocating pump can be easily understood. Okay, so the first the piston moves backward and forward in the cylinder due to the rotation of the crank. So during the outward stroke, piston moves to the right. So this movement of the pistons causes vacuum in the cylinder, and the atmospheric pressure on the water surface forces the water into the cylinder through the suction pipe, and this force of water opens the suction valve, which is a non-return valve, and on the inward stroke the pressure of water flows to the suction valve and opens the delivery valve. So in this stroke, water is forced up into the delivery pipe, and so water is raised to the required height or pressure. Okay, so that is what the reciprocating pump, and the double acting pump where the water acts on the both sides of the pistons. And the second, that is a centrifugal pump. So centrifugal pump is a hydraulic machine which is used to raise the liquid from a lower to higher level by creating a required pressure by means of centrifugal action. So that pump is called as centrifugal pump. Okay, which increase the pressure energy of fluid. So it consists different parts like impeller, then casing. Okay, so impeller, it is nothing but the rotor which consists the series of vanes are fitted and which impeller is mounted on a shaft and which is driven by electric motor. The function of impeller is to force the water into a rotating motion and should be around impeller is to direct the water through the impeller. That is, you can if you see the centrifugal pump which consists the circular casing and which circular casing which consists the impeller and the impeller with fitted with the vanes. Okay, so how it works? So before the starting of pump, priming is done. So priming is nothing but water is filled into the suction pipe and casing into a portion of delivery pipe up to delivery wall. So this is done why? For the removal of air. So with the presence of air, it is not possible to create the pressure because the pressure generated by impeller is directly proportional to the density of water to be handled. That's why we need to remove the air from that impeller. Okay, so that's why we need to do the priming, that is filling of water through the funnel. So if impeller is run in air, negligible pressure will be produced and will be very less density of air and no liquid will be lifted by the pump. Okay, so after priming, the delivery wall is kept still closed and priming moves started to rotate the impeller. The rotation of impeller in the casing full of the liquid produce centrifugal head in the liquid and thus pressure in the whole of the liquid is increased. Okay, so after a short period, when pump attains a constant speed, delivery valve is gradually open and thus liquid is allowed to flow in the radially outward direction through the impeller. Impeller vents and attains a higher velocity and pressure at the outer periphery. So with the help of special shape and casing, that is a volute and vortex or diffusion, this high velocity energy is converted into pressure energy and reduce high velocity. Now this water at higher pressure rises to the delivery valve into the desired height. So this is what the working of the centrifugal pump and reciprocating pump. So these mostly two pumps which are used for the dewatering purpose at the construction site.